ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पदा सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So welcome back to the Friday and Saturday discussion on the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion summary study. We have in the last class finished a discussion on Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. We know that Uttama Bhakti is divided into two broad categories, Sadhana Bhakti and Sadhya. Sadhana and Sadhya. Sadhana and Sadhya. And within Sadhana, there is the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And within Sadhya, there are two broad types. One is Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. And if you remember when we discussed Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu's second wave, the first verse, that there are three types of Bhakti and not two, Sadhana and Sadhya. Although in general we say it is two, but Rupa Goswami says it is three. Why? Because although Bhava Bhakti can be classed in Sadhya, but still there is difference between Bhava and Prema. It cannot be classed in Sadhana Bhakti because the goal of Sadhana Bhakti is to attain Bhava Bhakti. Kriti Sadhyat Bhave Sadhya. Sa Sadhana Vyabdha, that is called as Sadhana Bhakti. And it cannot be classed into Prema Bhakti also because in Bhava Bhakti there are some slight impurities in the heart. Although Krishna Yoga Sakshat, he is qualified to have darshan of Krishna, but there are still some impurities in the form of aparats. So that's why there is this distinction between even Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. So we discussed after Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and the 64 limbs, we began with our discussion of Raganuga Sadhana. Now, after the practice of Raganuga Sadhana, when Raganuga Sadhana matures, one enters into Bhava Bhakti. So Rupa Goswami is going to discuss now in the Eastern Division, third wave, Bhava Bhakti. So I'll just again briefly have the overview of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, just to get our understanding more clear. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has four divisions: Eastern, Southern, Western, and Northern. The Eastern, that is the four-way Bhag, has four laharis, four waves. Overview of devotional service. This is the first wave. Devotional service and practice. This includes both Vaidhi and Raganuga. And devotional service in ecstasy is Bhava Bhakti. And devotional service in love of God, it is Prema Bhakti. The southern wave is the overview of Rasa, Vibhav, Anubhav, Satviki Bhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, and Stahi Bhav. And if you all remember, when we had an elaborate discussion on the preface to Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion summary study, we went into a little bit of the science of Rasa. We discussed what these terminologies, what their definition is. And then the 5 primary rasas in the western side, and in the northern side, the 7 Gaun rasas, which nourish the primary rasas are there. And then there are some subtopics like mixture of mellows, what is a combination which is compatible and incompatible, are 2 additional chapters in the northern division. So in our Bhakti Shastri, we have been studying the eastern division, and now we are in the third wave of the eastern division. The third wave is Bhava Bhakti. Now, I'm again just catching on these concepts of the overview of Rasa, because when Bhava Bhakti will be defined, these terminologies will come and we have to be familiar. And I know it's quite long that we studied the preface. So I'm just rebrushing the concepts here so that when we discuss the definition of Bhava Bhakti, then we will understand. So what is Rasa? Rasa is when many bhavas come together and unite, they give rise to rasas. They give rise to rasa. So one bhava is called as vibhava, the other one is called as anubhava, one is called as sthai bhav, and then there is a sanchari bhav or the vyabhichari bhav, and then there are the satviki bhavas. So now we will not go elaborately because this is the part of southern division, but just to give an idea of what these are. Stahi bhav is the permanent emotion or the permanent rasa in which a devotee is situated in relationship with Krishna. That is what is called as Stahi bhav. Like Mother Yasoda, her Stahi bhav is that of Vatsalya ras. The gopis have Madhurya ras. The friends of Krishna are in Sakya ras. So these are called as Stahi bhav. This is the permanent emotion. And Vibhav is what? Vibhav is that which stimulates the Stahi bhav. That which stimulates the Stahi bhav. Anubhavas are the subsequent emotions or that which follows the Vibhav. The Sanchari bhavs are what Srila Prabhupada points the term as transient emotions. And the Satviki bhavas are the Ashta Satvik vikars. Now, these are the 5 vibhavas, and our Stahi bhav, what is the Stahi bhav in which we are related to Krishna, is revealed at the stage of bhava. We have a particular inclination in our Raganuga sadhana practice, and we develop that following the footsteps of Ragatmika Bhaktas to develop that same mood, Tat Tat Bhava Madhurya. We try to follow that. But at the stage of bhava, our stahi bhav, our rasa, our swarupa is revealed, and we can our rasa with Krishna is fully manifested there. I cannot say 100%, but it is manifested. So That is what is Stahi Bhav when it is manifested. So main ingredient is the Stahi Bhav, and Vibhav is what stimulates the Stahi Bhav. Anubhavas are what follow the Vibhav, the subsequent emotions, and Vabhichari Bhavas are the transient emotions, and Ashtasattvic Bhavas are the involuntary emotions which manifest, like, hair standing on end. There is tears pouring from the eyes. It's not that, when we see the deities, now you order tears, please start, flowing. No, these are naturally manifested they spring from the soul. So these are involuntary, whereas Anubhavas are voluntary. Like Krishna is coming from the forest and Mother Yashoda's Vatsalya Bhav, seeing the sunset Godhuli, that becomes like a, it stimulates the Sai Bhav, and Mother Yashoda might open her arms. That is the expression of love by voluntary actions. That is what is called as Anubhav. So we discussed in Vibhav, there is two divisions, Alamban and Udipan. Alamban, there is Vishaya Alamban and Ashraya Alamban. Alamban is a support for love. Just like, anything which has to stand, it needs a support. So you need two legs to stand. So there is Vishay and Ashraya. Krishna is the Vishay, object of love, and the devotee's heart, where there is love in the heart, is the Ashraya. So in relation to Krishna, there is Vibhav Alamban and there is Ashray Alamban. Uddipans are spiritual sense objects which stimulate. These are spiritual sense objects which stimulate, the Stahi Bhav. Just like I explained the Godhuli, or for the gopis, it is the peacock feather or the flute. That is like the Uddipan for them. And then for the sakas, it is the bugle or the horn, like that. So this is further division in the Vibhav. And when we saw this example, if you remember, we mentioned the Stahi Bhav is the permanent emotion the child has towards sweet items or sweet biscuits. And this is the Vibhav Alamban, and the tongue is the Vishay Alamban. In Vishay Vibhav, we saw there is Ashraya Alamban and Vishay Alamban. So this is the Vishay object, and this is the subject. The subject is the tongue. And then there is a temptation in the Vishay called Udipan, hot, it is crispy, there is cream, there is smell. These all, more ignite the emotion in the heart to have those. There is more agitation, seeing the Udipan. And then there is Anubhav in the form of voluntary action from heightened affection for the sweet biscuits. The hands are raised, you can see here. So this is voluntary. And the Ashtasattvic vikars, it might manifest because they are involuntary, or it might not manifest. So these are, then the Sanchari Bhava, like you might, enjoy, start jumping and dancing. So these are like Sanchari Bhavs. These Sanchari Bhavs are 33 in number. And just like in a wave, there are high waves. Sometimes they come and suddenly they fall back. So these transient emotions go at a heightened level, and they nourish the Stahi Bhav. They nourish the Stahi Bhav. We have all discussed this, but I'm just, because these terminologies will come and we need to know. So now devotees have to answer. Yes, in this picture, I will ask devotees, for which is the Stahi Bhav here? Which is the Stahi Bhav? Anyone who would like to answer can raise their hand first, because some devotees have joined in between. Yes, Dana Lakshmi Mataji has raised her hand. Yeah, some can type also.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it's Mother Yashoda's love for Krishna that she's open hands and she's...
No. Hold on. What is the Stahi Bhav here?
It's
Which is the Sahi Bhav? That's my question. Which is the Sahi Bhav? Which is the Sahi Bhav?
Okay. Her love is for her son is Vatsalya Bhav.
Yes, that's the precise answer. Vatsalya, right?
Okay.
Yes, everyone has answered correctly. I think all students have been very regularly studying the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay, now which is the Vishaya Alamban and the Ashraya Alamban? Which is the Vishaya Alamban and the Ashraya Alamban? Yes, raise your hands. Which is the Vishaya Alamban and the Ashraya Alamban? I'll mute all first because otherwise there could be disturbance only. Which is the Vishaya Alamban and the Ashraya Alamban? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam. So, Vishay Alamban is Krishna and Ashraya Alamban is Yashoda Maya.
Yes. Vishay is Krishna and Ashray is the abode of love, which is Mother Yashoda. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, discusses always the Vishay as Krishna from the devotee's point of view, and it can interchange. Krishna has love for his devotees, so his devotees become Vishay for Krishna, and in his heart he has love for Krishna. Krishna has love for his devotees, so then he becomes Ashray. So it is both ways, but Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the whole discussion in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is from the devotee's viewpoint. So we should always mention as Mother Yashoda, Krishna as a Vishaya Alamban and Mother Yashoda as Ashraya Alamban. Okay. What is the Vibhav here? What are the Vibhavs? The Vishaya Alamban is there. Now, in general, what is the Vibhav and what is the Uddipan? Okay, Vibhav is answered. What is Uddipan? But Vibhav also in general more you can speak about. And what is the Uddipan? What can be the Uddipans here? Anyone? Yes, I would like to see others also. Yes, Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji. Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji. I have unmuted you.
Yes, Prabhu, Uddipan.
Yes, somebody has answered it correctly. They are not here in the picture, but as the sun is setting,
correct, yeah, all this.
And the Goduli that enhances or it activates the Sahi Bhav.
Yes,
so that
the stimulants which
stimulants, yeah, they are stimulants. Yes, that's the right way. That we understand material stimulus. When there is hot samosa being fried and the smell comes, it agitates us and we rush towards the samosa, right?
The symptoms of Krishna's arrival, we can say.
Yes. And the Vishay is the beauty of Krishna, his childhood, Vatsalya, beauty of Krishna. Mother Yashoda is seeing child Krishna. So that can be the Vishay. So like that, we have identified all this. Vatsalya is the Sahi Bhav. This is the Vishaya Alamban. This is the Ashraya Alamban. And then there is temptation in the Vishay, Uddipan, sunset, Godhuli. Anubhav, I should have asked. Mother Yashoda is, opening her arms to embrace Krishna. So these are voluntary actions. And then there can be, Sanchari Bhav, like joy, suddenly great joy, and Mother Yashoda might jump and dance, seeing that Krishna is coming. So these are important, and it will be important for us to know when we study Bhava Bhakti definition. Now, again, I'm presenting the overview of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as it is there in your summary study book. Preface is not part of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prabhupada himself wrote in his summary study. The introduction and characteristics of pure devotional service form first wave. Now, practically from the beginning of second chapter, I think in between only, the first chapter end only, till 16 chapters, is the second wave, Sadhana Bhakti. And in that, we have two divisions. I have not brought out that here. From here to 14 is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and 15 and 16 is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, which we have studied. Now, 17 and 18 will be the third wave, Bhava Bhakti, and the last chapter will be the fourth wave, Prema Bhakti. Now, let us see what all we will be studying in this Eastern Division third wave. We will be studying the definition of Bhava Bhakti, the causes of Bhava Bhakti. How is Bhava Bhakti caused? From sadhana, from Vaidhi sadhana, from Raganuga sadhana. It can be caused from mercy. Mercy from whom? Mercy of Krishna through his words, from presence, from within the heart, or mercy of his devotees. Then what are the Anubhavas of a Bhava Bhakta? So here this term has come, Anubhava. That's why I took an overview of a rasa. So what are the Anubhavas, or what are the primary characteristics or the reliable symptoms of one who is a Bhava Bhakta? Then he goes into another subtopic called as Ratyabhas. It is a semblance of Bhava or Rati. And in that there is two types, Pratibimba and Chaya. And another topic is destruction of Bhavabhas and Bhava. What are the apparent faults in Bhava Bhakta? So these are the 6 topics which we will be studying in Bhava Bhakti. So review of the definition of Uttama Bhakti. Now we will review this definition because it is important when we study the Bhava Bhakti definition. So just give me a minute. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So we'll review the definition of Uttama Bhakti, especially Anushilanam, because that is related to Bhava Bhakti definition. So we will review first the Uttama Bhakti definition. Now, okay. Anya vilayashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. The highest bhakti, bhaktiruttama, is defined as continuous service or emotions, anushilanam, directed towards Krishna, his expansion forms, or others related to him. This is the meaning of Krishna. We have studied this. Krishna means Krishna, Krishna's avatars, anything directly related to Krishna, like Tadiya, or even the spiritual master. How that service is done? With a pleasing attitude towards Krishna, Anukulena. It should be devoid of desires other than the desire to please the Lord, Anya Bilashita Shunyam, and unobstructed by impersonal Gyan, the materialistic rituals of karma, or other unfavorable acts. Jnana Karmadya Anavrita. So this is the definition. And probably, if you remember, we discussed 2 classes on this definition of pure devotional service. So I'll not be going more again in detail, but with the Bhava Bhakti definition, which is going to come up, there, with respect to Anushilanam, there is a discussion, and that's why I am discussing this definition once again. So we know the Mukhya Lakshan and the Gaun Lakshan. The Mukhya Lakshan are Anukulena Krishnanu Shilanam. These are the 2 Mukhya Lakshan. And the Gauna Lakshan are Anya Bilashita Shunyam and Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Mukhya Lakshan and Gauna Lakshan. I hope you remember what is the meaning of Mukhya Lakshan and Gaun Lakshan. Primary characteristics, Mukhya Lakshan. Removing these characteristics, there is no bhakti. Secondary characteristics, Gaun Lakshan. Removing these characteristics, the bhakti ceases to be of a superior nature. So if you're doing bhakti with Anukulena, Krishna, Anushilanam, but you have a desire to attain Swarga, or you have a desire to attain a kingdom greater than Brahma that Dhruva Maharaj had. So he is practicing favorably, he is cultivating with a favorable attitude to please Krishna, but there is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam is missing. So if you remove the secondary characteristics, the bhakti ceases to be pure. So these secondary characteristics make the bhakti pure. So this is the difference between Mukhya Lakshan and Gauna Lakshan. Another simple example to understand this is water. There are two types of characteristics in water by which you can see this is good water. First is the Swarup Lakshan. There has to be the actual substance water. And then there have to be secondary characteristics, like the water should be pure, it should not be salty. There should be no mixture of salt or any other impurities. So when it has this both characteristics, then the water is pure. So this is something like what is, the primary characteristics and secondary characteristics. So we gave this example. Rishikesh goes to school and scores very good marks. Hence, he's a good student. So who can identify which is the Mukhya Lakshan and the Gaun Lakshan? Raise your hands. I'm just doing a review still now. We have not gone to the... yes, Ratnamataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Rishikesh goes to school is the Mukhya Lakshan and scores good marks is Gauna Lakshan.
Okay. Why Rishikesh goes to school is the Mukhya Lakshan?
Because if he doesn't go to school, he's not a student at all.
And he cannot score good marks. So this comes secondary.
Yes.
So yeah. So Dictionary of Logic defines Swarup Lakshan as a thing's fundamental nature. Atash Lakshan as a secondary nature that further defines it. So the fundamental nature of water is liquidity. It has to have liquid substance. And then the secondary nature that it has to be pure, it has to be without any traces of salt or any traces of impurities. So that's how we understand what is the Sarupa Lakshan and a Tatastha Lakshan. Now I'm going into, in this, we are not going to analyze each of the words, but we are only going to stick to Anushilanam, because it is important for us to understand Bhava definition. Sri Rupa begins the book by describing the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti. Just as a verb is understood the sense of its root, dhatu, so the word Anushilanam must be understood only to the sense of its verbal root. So we know that in Sanskrit, every word has a root. The meaning is that you have to go to the meaning. So Anushilanam comes from the Shila dhatu. And Shil has various meanings. Shil means to act, to practice, to serve, to worship, and to meditate. And Anu means continuous or with devotion. Anu can also have various meanings. Following after the Guru Shishya Parampara. Anu has that meaning also. There are various other meanings of Anu. Words can usually be resolved into verbal roots by removing the affixes. The sense of the roots, dhatu artha, are found in the dhatu part. So there is a dhatu part where every word, verbal roots are there, and you can go through the table and find out. So Shil means all these meanings are there in that dictionary. By studying the sense of the dhatu of the word, one can understand the full scope of the meaning derived. So why should understand the full dhatu meaning, root meaning? Because then the full scope of the meaning of Anushilanam can be understood. So that is why it has a very broad range, you can say, Anushilanam. And if you want to understand that broad, range, then we'll have to go to the root of the meaning. Okay, I have somehow not done that. Some roots may have only one meaning and some may have several meanings. It's not that the root of the meaning has only one meaning. In Sanskrit, it can have various meanings. That's why Sanskrit is such a wonderful language. Krishna's eyes are called as lotus, and there are various names, Pankaja, Kamalanayana, like that. There are n numbers of names you can, use, and poets will use it in a very poetic way in their compositions. So there is some problem with the audio given to understand. Let me try to fix it up. Is it better now? Mohanrup Sham Prabhuji, it is better?
Yeah, Prabhuji, a little better, but it is showing that your network bandwidth is low. If you can change to...
Oh, it's network is low. Okay. Let me change it to see this one. I have 3 networks, but India always. Okay, let us see now. Now it is better?
Yeah, fine. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Some roots have only one meaning and some can have several meanings. Some of the meanings may be active, some may be non-active. Sheel has 2 distinct meanings. One meaning is non-active, samadhi, contemplation. The other meaning is active, upadharana, to hear attentively, to perceive, to cultivate. So the Srila has these 2 meanings. Like a devotee is sitting and chanting, he is, performing devotional service. Anushilanam he is doing, and because he is sitting and chanting, he is doing it anukulena, favorably. So just because, he is not doing any physical activity, he looks to be non-active, it doesn't mean that he is not doing Anushilanam. He is doing Anushilanam. So the devotees are serving the deities or they are hearing the class. There is active engagement of the mind to hear the class. So there is activity in that sense. So there is this active and non-active sense, of the word Sheela. So there are some meanings have active sense and non-active sense. The significance of the verbal root Sheel is twofold. Pravritatmaka, expressing action, that is to worship, practice and serve. Serving favorably prasadam to the devotees. That is also part of bhakti. And nivritatmaka, there is expressing non-action to be intensely absorbed, like in samadhi. So that's how the Sheel has these 2 different meanings, pravritatmika and nivritatmika, active and non-active. Thus, I don't know, I could not. Thus, Anushilanam or continuous service has an active form, Cheshta Rupa, using the body, mind, or body, words, or mind, and an emotional form, Bhava Rupa, Cheshta Rupa and Bhava Rupa. Now, I think devotees must be recollecting. We had discussed this Cheshta Rupa and Bhava Rupa, if you remember. There is an active form, Cheshta Rupa, and there is a emotional form, Bhava Rupa, consisting of affection, preeti, and despair, Vishad of the mind. Meditation using the mind with conscious intention would be included in Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam. Now, please remember this. Meditation, even meditation, using the mind with conscious intention. Now I am going to sit and chant attentively. This comes in the Cheshtarupa Anushilanam. But the emotional states of the mind, either temporary, Vyavichari Bhav, such as Vishad, like Arjuna, when he went to Dwarka and Krishna had, after the Moshali Leela, he left back to his abode. Arjuna went into Vishad. And these are transient emotions, Vishada. And these emotions, where he's crying and he's lamenting now, and all that, he's remembering, and he's informing this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And an entire chapter is there in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there can be temporary such emotions, emotional states of the mind. And I mentioned Vyavichari Bhavs, if you know now, these are transient emotions. They come like the waves in the ocean. They go to a height and then they fall down. So they embellish the Stahi Bhav. They embellish the Stahi Bhav. So these emotional states of the mind can be of temporary, Vyavichari Bhav, such as Vishad, or permanent, Stahi Bhav, such as Priti or Bhavarupa. So Cheshtarupa Anushilanam and Bhavarupa Anushilanam. These are emotional states, Bhavarupa. And within these emotional states, they can be Vyavichari Bhavs. They can be part of Vyavichari Bhavs, or they can be part of the Stahi Bhav in the form of Priti. Like Mother Yashoda has Vatsalya Priti towards the Lord. The Gopas have Sakya Priti. The Gopis have Madhurya Priti. These are her permanent emotions. And there can be different transient emotions which can manifest. So when the Krishna left the Ras Leela, the Gopis went into a state of transient emotions. All the Vyavichari Bhavs manifested. So like that. This Bhavarupa Anushilanam takes place on attaining Bhava and Prema. So this is a very important point to be noted. Thus, the activities of sadhana bhakti are classed as Cheshtarupa Anushilanam. At the level of Bhava and Prema, Cheshtarupa Anushilanam takes the form of Anubhavas. Now, just carefully think about this statement. Carefully think about the statement and receiving Krishna, and explain me what the statement means. At the level of Bhava and Prema, Cheshtarupa Anushilanam takes the form of Anubhavas. And in that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu purport 111, Rupa Goswami is giving that, when we come to Bhava Bhakti, it will become more clear. 131. We are going to start studying 131 now. But I want you to think about the statement. At the level of Bhava and Prema, Cheshtarupa Anushilanam takes the form of Anubhavas. What does this mean? Anyone would like to try? Give a try. Give a try. It's worth it. The statement is here. Take half a minute and think about it. And raise your hand who would like to answer. Who would like to answer? No, I don't want anyone to type here. Please avoid typing because it's not going to be clear. You can raise your hands and answer. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. In Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam, there is no spiritual emotions as such. So when it is getting into the Bhava and the Prema stage, maybe I am just thinking that the spiritual emotion is arising.
Yes. And based on the spiritual emotions, there are actions.
Yeah.
There are actions. And this action of Mother Yashoda opening her arms to embrace Krishna is out of love, bhava, prema. There's a higher state of prema. So what is actually in the sadhana bhakti, we engage our senses to purify our senses. But when the chitta is pure, when there is love for God, there is, agitated by that love, there are actions. And that's why those actions are anubhavas. If you remember, anubhavas means voluntary actions. Yes, you are correct about it. So I hope devotees are able to understand the statement. At the level of bhava and prema, cheshta rup anushilam takes the form of anubhavas. It takes the form of anubhavas. Any questions regarding this? Any questions up till now? You can raise your hands. Any questions? Yes, Mataji. We were missing all your questions for a long time.
Sorry, Prabhu. Maybe I've missed so much, so that's why I'm getting this question. If Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam takes the form of Anubhavas at the level of Bhava and Prema, then in Sadhana, then what are Anubhavas, Prabhu?
In the sadhana, there are no anubhavas. There are no anubhavas. These all, if you remember just now what we discussed, what is rasa? When many bhavas combine together, give rise to rasa. And there is the main, bhava, which is called as the main
Sthayi
ingredient,
bhava.
which is called as sthahi bhav. So the sthahi bhav manifests only at the stage of bhava. And all these other bhavas combine and give rise to rasa in the form of reciprocations with the jiva and Krishna. So anubhavas are not there. You don't do the deity worship. Your hand doesn't go in ecstasy while doing the deity worship because of love. It is a part of Vaidhi Bhakti that I have to do deity worship, and that's why I'm doing the deity worship. It is a more of a, there is active engagement of the senses in sadhana bhakti. That's why it is called as cheshta rupa. Cheshta karna padta hai. We have to do cheshta. We have to endeavor to engage the senses in Krishna's service. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So I have summarized here everything. That Shilanam has this root word, Anu and Shila. We saw Pravritatmika, Nivritatmika. And then there Anu has many meanings, continuous, which devotion, repeatedly, and another one following after also is there. And then if you remember, because this has these two types of connotations, there is Cheshtarupa Anushilanam, indicates continuous action with body, minds, and words without any spiritual emotions. Generally refers to devotional service at the sadhana bhakti stage. Bhavarupa Anushilanam indicates continuous. Here also there is action using body, mind, and words, but with spiritual emotions. So that's why the Cheshta Rupa Anishilanam at the level of Bhava and Prema takes the form of Anubhavas. The actions of the body are all because of Anubhavas, like the dancing. Like, just to give a simple example, okay, let's come to some practical ground reality. Why do people dance? Why people, do so many actions in dance? Why? What is the reason? Just think about it. When people dance, what all actions they do. So why? What is the reason? Okay, Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji. Wait 1 second. Yes.
The music and the seeing others dancing.
Let's not go into the external factors. What is happening? What they want from within. Let's go within now.
Okay.
What they want within.
They
Think
want
about
a
it.
joy. They want to. Yeah.
They want a joy. That's why they are trying to get that joy within by doing external actions.
Yes.
But somebody who's having joy in the heart already, he dances. That dance of external, actions and all, these are all Anubhavas, because there is already joy, and because of that joy, he's, naturally and spontaneously dancing. He's not putting endeavor to, do the dance to, experience some joy within. At Bhava, the joy is there in the heart, and because of the joy, the external actions manifest. I hope, this at least example makes it some understanding of what really it is. So that's why, it is mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, anyone who saw Haridas Thakur dancing would get love of Godhead, because Haridas dance was purely out of pure love of Godhead. So this is, just to give an idea of what is, what is how Chesta Rupa Anushilanam at the stage of Bhava turn into Anubhavas. Okay, generally refers to devotional service in Bhava and Prema Bhakti stages. So this is what we had studied. Now we will come to the definition of Bhava Bhakti. Because this all background was required, otherwise you would, find it difficult to understand what is the definition of Bhava Bhakti. So that's why I had to give you all this background. Now, any questions you have up till now, what we have discussed, before we go to the definition of Bhava Bhakti? Let us see how much we can cover today. Again, it's like, just like Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, we spent some time understanding. We'll have to spend some time understanding Bhava Bhakti definition. Any questions up till now? Any questions, any clarification anyone has? Okay. I happened to attend a class, and the devotee who was giving the class, he began this class by saying, Bhav to Bhav hai. Bhava is Bhava. There cannot be any, you cannot put it in a definition, he said. How can you define it in a definition? Bhava is Bhava, Huh? How can you put it in a definition? I was really taken aback. My goodness, what is this I'm hearing? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, if you see, what is Uttama Bhakti? Rupa Goswami is defining it very clearly. What are the characteristics? Jiva Goswami is giving an elaborate commentary, and we are trying to break our intelligence in trying to understand. And then, what is Sadhana Bhakti? What is the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti? What is the definition of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti? What is Ragatmika Bhakti? Even the eternal devotion practiced by the eternal residents of Vrindavan is defined. It is given a definition. And now Rupa Goswami is going to define what is Bhava Bhakti also. Precise, clear definitions. It's not just bhav means some emotion. No. You have to use your intelligence to understand. It's not something, so cheap. So that's why those who don't study Rupa Goswami's work, especially Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, sometimes, they can take things very lightly and easily. Bhav to bhav hai. Usko kya define kar sakte kya hum? That's what he said, And even Rupa Goswami is going to define what is Prema Bhakti. He's going to define what is Vibhav, what is Anubhav. When he comes to the overview of Rasa, every emotion, exactly Rupa Goswami is going to put it in precise definitions. And this is the beauty of Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the only language where every emotion of the heart, what you're feeling, can be expressed in that language. And Rupa Goswami is a genius who has done this, especially in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So let us now go to the definition of Bhava Bhakti. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryam Shusamya Bhak Ruchibhishchittamarshanya Krid Aso Bhava Uchyate Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryam Shusamya Bhak Ruchibhishchittamarshanya Krida Subhava Uchyate Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryam Shusamya Bhak Ruchibhishchittamarshanya Krida Subhava Uchyate. Anyone would like to recite? Can raise your hands. The definition of Bhava Bhakti. Any one devotee? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryamshu Samya Bhak Ruchibhis Chittamashranya Krit Asau Bhava Uchyate.
Excellent, excellent. Wonderful recitation. That part of bhakti is called bhav. Aso bhav uchyate, whose essence is samvit and ladani shakti, shuddha sattva visheshatma, which is one ray of the sun of prema, which will soon rise in the heart. Prema surya amsha. Surya amsha means a particle or one ray. Samya bhak, which will soon, arise in the heart. And what is the effect? And which softens the heart. Chitta marshanya krit. And what is the effect of it? With the desire to meet, serve, and exchange love with the Lord. Ruchibhi. So what a precise definition Rupa Goswami has given for Bhava Bhakti. And Jiva Goswami in his commentary, for each of these terms, what Rupa Goswami has used, Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma, he gives an elaborate commentary. Prema Suryansha Samyabhak, he gives a commentary. And then Ruchibhishchittamarshanya, he gives a detailed commentary. So it's a very elaborate discussion now what we are going to have. Prabhupada has just defined what is Bhava Bhakti. He has not gone into the details. In his summary study, we'll see that also. Okay. Now, kindly hear attentively. We have set the background by defining Uttama Bhakti. We have seen Cheshta Rupa, Bhava Rupa, Nishilanam. And let me go through few slides and hear attentively. If any question comes in between, make a mental note. And only after I, discuss few slides and complete this portion of the discussion, then only we'll take up questions. So first hear attentively and let us see if your question is answered in the discussion. Bhava Bhakti should be defined. Jiva Goswami is first thing saying, Bhav ka koi definition hota hai kya? This is what he began his class with. But Jiva Goswami is saying, Bhava Bhakti should be defined. Previously, two types of bhakti were delineated in discussing the general qualities of bhakti. Samanya Bhakti, in the Anya Bilashata Shunyam, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami is referring, there were two types of bhakti, Cheshta Rupa and Bhava Rupa. So now you all know what this means, Cheshta Rupa and Bhava Rupa. Cheshta Rupa means, there is practice with body, minds and words without emotions. But in Bhava, there is with emotions, body, mind and words with emotions. Cheshta Rupa Bhakti, Bhakti consisting of actions, has two types. Now, don't confuse now with these two types what were mentioned in the previous definition. This is a little different now. Hear attentively, that's why. Cheshta Rupa Bhakti, Bhakti consisting of action, has two types. Sadhana Rup, for attaining Bhava Bhakti. Actions as practice for attaining Bhava. And Karya Rup. Karya Rup means actions after attaining Bhava, the goal of practice. Now, in Cheshta Rupa Bhakti, there is Sadhana Rupa and Karya Rupa. And what is Sadhana Rupa? These are actions for attaining Bhava. Now, anyone can just think about, after reading this first statement here, what does it remind you when we speak about Sadhana Rupa? When we speak about Sadhana Rupa, actions as practice for attaining Bhava, what does it remind? Anyone can think about or recollect? That's why I mentioned that you'll have to study and come for this discussion today. Anyone can think of what it reminds you? Actions as practice for attaining Bhava. Anyone? Okay, there are two. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Chanting. Chanting is not exactly 64 limbs. Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
What it reminds you? Sadhan Rup means what? Actions as practice for attaining Bhava.
Like I understood the Vedi Sadhana Bhakti, it always to start with the rules and regulation and then changing to Raghavanaga Sadhana Bhakti. Then comes the Bhava.
Yes, yes. Now, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is impelled by what?
Impelled by starting with Shraddha.
Rules and regulations.
Rules and regulation, and then, yeah.
The rules and regulations are impelled. Raganuga is impelled by lobe, greed. Last 4 weeks, we were discussing only this point.
Yes.
Now, before Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti definition, there is another definition also. Think about it. Which was the first definition which Rupa Goswami discussed in the second wave? And it is very emphatic here. In the statement only it is mentioned.
Uttama Bhakti.
Huh?
Uttama Bhakti.
Uttama Bhakti is discussed in the first wave, not in the second wave. No, there's another type of message as Uttama Bhakti. No. Bhava Bhakti, just we are now discussing Bhava Bhakti in the third wave. It is never discussed in the second wave or in the first wave. I think you are going to exhaust all your answers by just trying to hit whichever. Sadhana Bhakti definition. Why do you forget that? Have we not discussed Sadhana Bhakti? Yes. One devotee has typed now, one of our devotees, Kriti Sadhyat Bhave Sadhya. Sadhana Bhakti, the goal of Sadhana Bhakti is to attain Bhava Bhakti. Kriti Sadhyat Bhave Sadhya. Sa Sadhana Vidha. That is called as Sadhana Bhakti, where there is the actions of senses for attaining Bhav. So, we practice Sadhana Bhakti to attain Bhava Bhakti. So, in that context, that fits in Anya Abhilashita Shunya. Because, we don't have any other desire. Because Sadhana Bhakti is meant to attain Bhava Bhakti. So, that's why how it fits in the Paribhasha Sutra, if you remember. So, that's why we have to study every. Now, this is Sadhan Rup. Sadhan Rup is for attaining Bhava Bhakti. Actions for the practice for attaining Bhakti. And Karya Rup means what? Actions after attaining Bhava Bhakti. That is the goal of practice. So this Cheshta has these two types. Now, Karya Rupa Bhakti takes the form of Anubhavas when one experiences rasa. Now I think devotees will understand that overview of rasa we had. When there is bhava, then the actions which are done, they are all Anubhavas because one is experiencing rasa. Sadhana Rupa Bhakti has just been described. So Jiva Goswami is saying Sadhana Rupa Bhakti has been described. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, verse number 1 till 309, the entire second wave Sadhana Rupa Bhakti is described. And remember, devotees, even Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti is part of Sadhana Bhakti. It is not Bhava Bhakti. There is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, Raganuga Sadhana. He is a sadhaka still. Only when he attains Bhava Bhakti, then that sadhaka Rupa becomes Karya Rupa. So he's saying Sadhana Rupa Bhakti has been just described. That means sadhana, second wave, Sadhana Bhakti has been just described. The Anubhavas of Karya Rupa Bhakti, when attained Bhava, will be shown in relation to Rasa in the second wave of the southern division, southern section. So when Rupa Goswami is going to discuss the southern wave, the Anubhavas, this is Anubhava. So that time he will discuss, he's saying that. Now you can understand all the connections, right? You can understand the connection what now I'm speaking here. The Anubhavas of Karya Rupa Bhakti will be shown in relation to Rasa in the second wave of the southern section. I hope devotees are clear now. Bhava Rupa Bhakti has two types. Cheshta Rupa has two types. Anyone raise your hands and answer which are the two types? Cheshta Rupa Bhakti has two types. Raise your hands. Just now we have discussed it. Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji.
Sadhana Rupa and Karya Rupa.
Yes, excellent. Excellent. 100 marks. Yes. Okay. Now, Bhava Rupa Bhakti has two types. Stahi Rupa, permanent emotion, and Sanchari Rupa, transient emotion. Stahi Rupa has two types. Now, within this Stahi Rupa, there are two types. 1A. Now, this one is there, now 1A have made it. Prema, which also indicates higher states such as Pranaya, Mana, Raga, Anuraga, Bhava, Mahabhav, these higher stages of Prema. So Pranaya is one. Pranaya is, when you have deep love for the lover, Pranaya it is called. And 1B is what? Bhava, also called Rati, which is the preliminary stage of bud of Prema, or something what is called as Bhava Ankur, or Prem Ankur, sorry, Prem Ankur. The Prema is in the form of an Ankur, it is in the form of bud. So this Stahi Rupa has two types, Prema and Bhava. And this Bhava Rupa Bhakti has two types, Stahi Rupa and Sanchari Rupa. And within Stahi Rupa, there is Prema and Bhava. I hope devotees are not getting the spin of their head, what is happening. But everything will come in the chart and it will become clear. Sanchari Rupa Bhakti, the second type, will be discussed later in relation to Rasa in the fourth wave of the southern session. Okay, again, and Stahi Bhav is discussed in the fifth wave of the southern section. Now again, let us go back to here. So Stahi Bhav is in the fifth wave and Sanchari is the fourth wave. So there are 5 waves here. So Anubhav will be discussed in the second wave, fourth wave Vaibhichari Bhav, and fifth is Stahi Bhav. In fact, one should regularly for many years study the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu eastern side, but the real Rasa, science of Rasa will begin in the southern section, and we should all hanker for the day when we start studying the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu southern wave. And then, all the rasas we can understand. Without the southern wave, we cannot enter into the western wave and the northern wave. Sorry, the northern side and the western side. Okay, I will just finish one more slide and take the question here. Okay, so we have seen this Bhava Rupa, Stahi Rupa, and then there is Sanchari Rupa. Okay, now again I'll ask questions. You can lower your hand, Mataji, we will take up the question. Now, Cheshta Rupa takes 2 forms. Mohan Rup Sham Prabhu answered. Sadhana Rupa and then Karya Rupa. Sadhana Rupa is meant for what? Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji, you only can answer.
And Prabhuji.
Sadhan Rup is for what?
Sadhana Rupa is for what is that? Emotions.
No, just see the definition. Sadhana Rupa. Why we practice Sadhana Bhakti?
No, I missed it.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Ratna Mataji.
To attain Bhava, Prabhu.
To attain Bhava. Yeah, many devotees have typed correct answer here. Excellent. Very good. And Karya Rupa is after attaining Bhava. And this Karya Rupa manifests as Anubhavas. Those Anubhavas are discussed in the second wave of the southern division. Now, Bhava Rupa Bhakti. Bhava Rupa Bhakti has two types. What are the two types? Anyone can answer? Raise your hands. Bhava Rupa Bhakti has two types. Anyone? Okay. Yes, Lata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Sthayi Rupa, Sanchari Rupa.
Sthahi Rupa and Sanchari Rupa. And within Sthahi, there are again two types. Which are those?
Prema and Bhava.
Prema and Bhava. And Sanchari?
Sanchari. I don't remember.
No, there is no other division in Sanchari. Okay? Okay, fine. Now, everything is here in the chart. If you see this chart, everything will be crystal clear now. Okay? Okay, Anushilanam, cultivation of activities in Krishna consciousness. For Krishna. Krishna Anushilanam it is, no? Sorry. Okay. So we saw Cheshta Rupa and Bhava Rupa. So in Cheshta Rupa, we saw there is Sadhana Rupa and Karya Rupa. Sadhana Rupa is what? Endeavors in the stage of sadhana leading to Bhav. Kriti Sadhyat, Bhave Sadhya. Sa Sadhana Bidha. So Sadhana Rupa is to attain Bhav. Karya Rupa are endeavors that manifest as effects upon attainment of Bhavs. These are Anubhavas, Sattvika Bhavas, and the limbs of Bhakti performed at the stage of Bhava, Karya Rupa. And within the Sadhana Rupa, we saw the Pravritatmika, Nivritatmika, definitions from the Uttama Bhakti definitions. Now, within Bhava Rupa, there are again two types, Sthahi Bhava Rupa and Sanchari Bhava Rupa. And within Sthahi Bhava Rupa, there is two, Premankur Rupa and Prema Rupa. Premankur Rupa is the sprout of Prema, that is Rati or Bhava. And Prema Rupa is Prema, which is developed through the stages of Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Raga, Anuraga, Bhava and Mahabhava. So this is the whole chart now. I hope whatever till now we have discussed is clear to the devotees. With this chart, I think everything is made clear. Now, if anyone has questions, can raise their hands. Any questions, any clarifications? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, Anubhavas and when we were talking in that slide, in relation to rasa, that's it. But then, so does it mean that each rasa has different Anubhavas, or is that how they mean it?
Yes, exactly. Based on the rasas, the Anubhavas will be different. Like,
but then we talk about prema at the end, na Prabhu. So does it not all lead there?
so what?
So I mean, why is
your
it
audio is not...
being classified differently?
No, Anubhavas will vary according to rasas. Like, to give you a simple example, like Krishna's friends who are in Sakyaras, they can express Anubhavas in the form of climbing on Krishna. But those friends of Krishna who are in more Dasyaras, They have friendship with Krishna, but they like to serve Krishna by, dressing Krishna. They help actually Mother Yashoda dress Krishna. They would not like to do that. So their Anubhavas will be different compared to those in the Sakyaras, the Anubhavas. For Mother Yashoda, the Anubhavas are different. The object is Krishna only, and Mother Yashoda can express her love by kissing Krishna's cheeks. So that is the object of how she expresses her emotions. But
So in
for
the
gopis,
same,
it is different. The gopis will think about the flute. So like that, the Anubhavas are going to change based on the development of the rasa.
so in the same line of thinking, then the Sanchari Bhavas are also going to be different for each rasa.
Yeah, the Sanchari Bhavs, maybe the external are the same, but the internal effect, what will happen is based on that individual particular rasa. Like Krishna is holding the Govardhan mountain, and the friends of Krishna are teasing Krishna. Madhubangal is saying, Krishna, don't think that you are holding the Govardhan mountain. You see my stick here? I'm a Brahmana, and just by my mantras, I'm holding this mountain. Krishna is saying that. Madhubangal is saying. And Krishna, in order to increase the rasa, he just little bit shakes the Govardhan hill. And then everyone, Mother Yashoda, has Vatsalya Bhav, so she's concerned, oh, what will happen to Krishna? And the gopis, they will take it differently. Actually, Krishna shook, not because of Madhubangal's words, because Radharani was staring Krishna, and Krishna could not handle it. So there are different, the Sanchari Bhavas, the external stimulus might be different, but the internal effect will be based on the individual rasa. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Any other questions up till now? We have still not gone into the definition of each of the terms of the Bhava Bhakti, Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. We have not gone into it still. But up till now, if you have any questions. So what I will do is now, Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. Yes, there are 3 slides on Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. That is what we will discuss today. And tomorrow we will continue our discussion and go further. So let me take now. I hope devotees are clear about up till now what we have discussed at least. Cheshta Rupa, Bhava Rupa. Within Cheshta Rupa, there is Sadhak Rupa, Karya Rupa. Within Sadhak Rupa, there is Pravritatmika, Nivritatmika. And within, there is the Bhava Bhakti, there is Bhava Rupa and Sanchari Rupa. Within Bhava, there is based on Bhava and Prema, and there is other side, Sanchari. I hope devotees are clear with this. How many were able to understand? Raise your hands till now. Till now, what we have discussed this, at least this chart up till here. Only one devotee has raised his hand. Others could not follow. Mohan Rupru was able to follow. 5 devotees. 5. Okay. Maybe we'll just ask Vaishali Mataji, anything you could not follow?
Prabhu, means I'm not able to understand. It will take some time. I think I need to little meditate. And secondly, this sadhana rupa, karya rupa, and then sadhana again unto pravritta, nivritta. Can you give some example, or means how do we? It's little difficult. I don't know.
Again, your voice is breaking.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Now it is better. Yes.
Yeah, Prabhu. Means little I need to meditate. It's just first time I am hearing these terms also. And secondly, I'm not able to understand why this bifurcation, and
There is some,
how do we
internet
understand this
issue at your
bifurcation?
end. Okay. So basically, I would recommend you to go once again through Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Uttama Bhakti definition. Pravritatmika and Nivritatmika is basically, if we saw the discussion what we had today, that's why I discussed this. There is that active and non-active.
Right.
Yeah. So pravritatmika means there are expressing actions to worship, to practice, or to serve. And nivritatmika is non-action. That means just you're absorbed in samadhi. You're contemplating on the Lord. You're absorbed in hearing. So there are positive and negative, something like that you say. That is what is pravritatmika and nivritatmika with respect to sadhaka rupa, with respect to sadhaka rupa. There is another way also to understand this, and if you remember, there are first 20 limbs of bhakti. The 10 are the do's. We have to do this, taking shelter of spiritual master. And the next 10 are don'ts. The next 10 are don'ts. That means we don't disrespect the demigods. We don't cause harm to other living beings. Anya jiva udveg. We don't cause trouble unnecessarily to other living beings. So just like a doctor, when a patient comes, he says, do this and don't do this. So both together constitute, the do's and don'ts. So like that, performance of positive action and avoidance of negative action. So both together, we follow in the way the sadhana bhakti. That's why that's sadhana. Is it clear now? Little bit?
Yes, Prabhu. So means this comes into Cheshta Rupa where there is no spiritual emotions.
Yes.
Even for Pravritatmika, Pravritta and Nivritta, there is no spiritual emotions. But in Nivritta, we read, Prabhu, that intensely absorbed, right? That is in Nivritta, Anna?
Nivritatmika, it doesn't mean that, like devotees are practicing sadhana bhakti, they might be like morning doing deity worship. There is action, there is practice,
right?
There is engagement. At the same time, he might sit and just absorb himself in chanting. He's still a sadhaka practicing sadhana bhakti. Yes or no?
But intensely absorbed means intensely, so there will be some emotion, right? Without having emotion.
No. It is engagement of the mind to focus on the holy name. But in Bhava, the subtle body is fully purified and the spiritual emotions of the soul spring. And, just by taking the name, tears start, rolling from his eyes. So that's a completely on a different platform, Mataji. Got the point?
Yeah. So, and Prabhu, this Karya Rupa, how do we define, what is it? Means, I did not understand that. There is a, after attending
Karya
Bhava.
Rupa, if you see, it's very simple here. Endeavors that manifest as effects upon attainment of Bhava.
So that person have attended Bhava, like that?
Yes. See, when one attains Bhava, that is spiritual love, Bhava Bhakti, he also endeavors, he does actions. Actions out of love, you can say. These actions are more out of love.
How that comes into Cheshta Rupa?
No. Please understand. It's, if you go back here, 1 second. You can see the slide here. Indicates continuous action with using body, mind, words without spiritual emotions. But even in Bhava, there is continuous action using body, mind, and words with spiritual emotions. It's not that at Bhava you don't use your body, mind, and words. It's
but this
only
comes
actions
into
which are done purely out of love.
Prabhu,
Mother Yashoda is cooking for Krishna. It's pure out of love. You might tell in your house a servant to cook for the deities. He's doing those actions. It might not be out of love. But when you tell your daughter to cook, because the spiritual master is coming, her actions in one sense, if we see her actions are motivated for the love what she has for the spiritual master. That's the difference between the two. Are you getting this
Prabhu,
point?
I got that point, but I am not understanding how it comes into Cheshta Rupa, because Cheshta Rupa is without any spiritual emotions, right?
Your voice is breaking.
Yeah, can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, now it is better.
Prabhu, how it comes under Cheshta Rupa?
How this comes under Cheshta Rupa?
Karya Rupa, how it comes under Cheshta Rupa, because Cheshta Rupa is without spiritual emotions, right?
Yes.
So Karya means one attains Bhava, he does action out of love.
Mm-hmm.
So how it is coming under the Cheshta Rupa, that I am not able to understand.
Okay, I got your question now. How, this Karya Rupa is coming within Cheshta Rupa? We have to remember now that this Karya Rupa is, it is actions. These are actions after attaining Bhava. There is action. There is action in one sense. There is Cheshta done. There is Cheshta done. And that is why it is mentioned as, it is coming within Cheshta Rupa. And these actions, only the actions, see, remember here, endeavors. Here is also endeavor. Here is also endeavor. Here, endeavor is just because the spiritual master has told me that I should get up and chant 16 rounds. But here the endeavor is, because I have love for Krishna, I'm doing those actions. So these are endeavors. That's why there is in Cheshta. But within Bhava Rupa, there are again subdivisions. There are some divisions. There is Sthahi Bhava Rupa and the Sanchari Bhava Rupa. In fact, it's like a progression. In fact, this is connected to this. Yes, I understand that. This is connected to this. But you have to understand that this belongs to the category of Cheshta, endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
This is with respect to emotions. This is with respect to emotion. This is with respect to endeavors. Cheshta. Cheshta, the very word Cheshta means endeavors. This is emotions. There is Sthayi emotion, permanent emotion, and there are transient emotions. Within the permanent emotions, there is a sprout of, prema, which is called as Bhava, and there is prema and the higher stages of prema. Is it clear now?
Yes, Prabhu. I understood that Karya Rupa now.
Yes.
Prabhu, similarly for the Bhava Rupa, Sthayi Rupa means they are telling here the permanent sentiments in one of the 5 primary relationship of. So what does that mean exactly?
Again, your audio is not at all clear to me.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, yes. Please come again.
Prabhu, this Sthayi Bhava Rupa, permanent sentiments in one of the 5 primary rasas, relationship. What does that exactly mean?
Okay. When one attains Bhava, at the stage of Bhava, one's Sthahi Bhav. Sthahi Bhav means the permanent emotion. Oh, you have not attended the preface of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's why you have these questions. There is a permanent emotion. Either it can be Vatsalya, it can be Dasya, it can be Sakya, it can be Madhurya. So this Sthahi Bhav is cultivated by the Raganuga sadhakas. It's not that Mother Yashoda has one day with Krishna, she has Vatsalya Bhav, and after a few days she turns to Madhurya Bhav. No. Her permanent emotion towards Krishna is Vatsalya. Krishna's friends have permanent emotions towards him in Sakya or in Dasya. And the gopis have permanent emotion with Krishna in Madhurya. So that is what is called as the Stahi Bhav, or the permanent emotion. Is
Okay,
it
Prabhu,
clear?
I got that. Yes. Prabhu, similarly, the
And
Sanchari Bhava Rupa 33,
they
what
are
is that?
these are transitory emotions. These are called as transient emotions. I'll give you some example to make it clear. When Krishna was in the coils of Kaliya, it is mentioned, Krishna was completely enwrapped in the coils of Kaliya. And slowly the news started going in Braj. Mother Yashoda and Nand Maharaj and all of them came towards Kaliya Hrida. And Mother Yashoda, her Vatsalya Bhav heightened to such a degree, that she was ready to give her life. She just could not see Krishna in the coils. And Krishna was purposefully not coming from the coils of Kaliya in order to increase that Vatsalya Prema.
Mm-hmm.
And she was about to collapse, but Balram held. And Krishna was not ready to come out of the coils, because slowly the news was reaching Braj, and at last it reached Barsana. And when the gopis came, it said that only when Srimati Radharani came, Krishna said, now, Mother Yashoda, I should not. Then he came out, and then Krishna started dancing on the coils of Kaliya. Now, why did Krishna dance on the coils of Kaliya? To give pleasure to the gopis. So Krishna was waiting to come out of the coils of Kaliya in order to dance and give pleasure to the gopis. So their Sanchari Bhav also heightened, seeing Krishna in the coils. So there are various kinds of Sanchari Bhavs, and they are 33 in number, which actually what? They embellish the Stahi Bhav. They embellish the Stahi Bhav. Okay. And simple example for us to understand that you are cooking and your kid is there somewhere in the hall, and there are, the door is open, the steps are there, and suddenly your kid goes out and starts rolling out of the steps and he falls. So you have a permanent emotion for your child in the form of Vatsalya, Prem. But now suddenly when you turn and see, oh, the child is crying, and you rush, you run, and immediately you go rushing towards the steps and catch your child and embrace him and hug him. So your Vatsalya Prem towards the child has gone to a heightened degree because of the Sanchari Bhavs which manifested. So the Sanchari Bhavs embellish the Stahi Bhav. Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yes. Any other questions? Kalyani Mataji, what was not clear to you? In discussion up till now, I'll not go to the definition today.
Prabhuji, it is clear, but I think I had to read again so that I can understand better.
Yeah, we'll have to read again and again. Okay, any other questions? Anyone has? Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji, can we just take 5-6 minutes more and finish 3 slides? If I have a permission, can we go?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
5 minutes
okay.
more?
Okay, yeah. And then you need
What
to take
about others?
the recitation exam also, Prabhu, for 1 month actually.
Oh, I'll do that tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm more free. I'll take all together tomorrow.
Okay, fine.
Can I go 5 minutes more? Is it okay? 3 slides? Because I want to just finish one definition, one part at least. You're still not started discussing. Okay, fine. So we started a little late, so just compensate that. Okay. Shuddha Sattva Visheshadma. Jiva Goswami starts now his commentary more in detail. In the verse, Shuddha Sattva refers to Samvit, which is a transformation of the Lord's Swarup Shakti. Samvit means knowledge, whose intrinsic nature is that it is self-revealing. So we know that there are 3 energies of the Lord: the Antaranga Shakti, the Bahiranga Shakti, and the Tatastha Shakti. And Bhakti is the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. or the Antaranga Shakti has these three divisions: Sandhini potency, Samvit potency, and Ladini potency. At the stage of Bhava Bhakti, it is mentioned that the Lord's Sarup Shakti or the Samvit potency and the Ladini potency together combine and enter, they descend from the spiritual world and enter the heart of the sadhaka, and that's how he attains Bhava. That's why Bhava cannot be attained by our own endeavors. It is bestowed. Bhava is bestowed. So Samvit means knowledge. Sandhini potency is the existential potency by which the spiritual world, the Jiva, the Lord exist. Spiritual personalities exist. Samvit is the knowledge potency by which we can know ourselves and know the Lord. And Ladini is what which gives pleasure. So the Samvit refers, so Shuddha Sattva refers to Samvit, which is the transformation of the Sarup Shakti of the Lord. And Samvit means knowledge, and it is self-revealing. Note, self-revealing is a phrase used to indicate the essential nature of knowledge. Knowledge must have a basic component of awareness of self. Based on this, awareness of other objects arises. So this is just a general definition of self-revealing. I told that at the stage of Bhava, one's Swarupa is revealed. So we became aware about who we are. We are spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna, and we know our Swarup. And what rasa we are related to Krishna, that also is revealed. So this is just a general definition of self-revealing. Shuddha Sattva here does not indicate the mode of goodness, which is also called Sattva, but which belongs to material nature. So Shuddha Sattva is pure goodness. This Shuddha Sattva is described in the second part of the Bhagavad Sandarbha and in the second chapter of Vaishnava Toshini. As well, the combination of Shuddha Sattva with the word Vishesh. Now, Jiva Goswami is commenting on Vishesh Atma. To form the word Shuddha Sattva Vishesh, excellent part of Shuddha Sattva. Vishesh means excellent part of Shuddha Sattva. Refers to the another transformation of the Swarup Shakti called Ladini. Lad means pleasure. Alladini. That's the name of Srimati Radharani also. Or Pralhad. Prakrish Lupena Alhad. Pralhad. One who gives happiness, spiritual happiness. This Shakti is described in the Vishnu Puran. Ladini Sandhini Samvit Tvai Eka Sarva Samshrayaye Lad Tap Kari Mishra Tvai No Gunavarjita. The Ladini, Sandhini, and Samvit Shaktis are one energy. Ladini, Sandhit, Samvit, Eka, which reside in you. Tvai, the shelter of all things. Sarva Samshraya. Shraya means shelter. Samshraya means complete shelter of all things. The mixture of happiness and distress found in the material world, Lada Tapakari Mishra, does not exist in you. Na Tvai, who are beyond the gunas, Gunavarjita, from the Vishnu Puran. So these three potencies are there. Following this statement, it should be understood that this Ladini is the greatest energy of the Lord and should be understood to be very essence of all the combined concentrated transformations of his Swarup Shakti. Furthermore, the power of the combination of the Ladini and the Samvit causes the most intense state of desiring to please the Lord. I told you this, Ladini and the Samvit Shakti combined. This intense desire resides within the Lord's eternal associates. It resides within the Lord's eternal associates. Furthermore, concentration of this condensed Ladini will transform Bhava into highest state of Mahabhava called Modana. What is Modana? Prema Bhakti, especially Madhuri Bhakti, Rupa Goswami doesn't much discuss in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But in the Sri Ujjvala Neelamani, he discusses quite in detail the Madhuri Ras. But for that to understand, we have to be very, very elevated. Ujjvala Neelamani is not meant for neophytes, nor for the advanced. Ujjvala Neelamani is meant for those who are really Uttama Adhikaris, very, very elevated Mahabhagavats. So in Ujjwal Neelmani, the Madhurya Ras is quite in detail discussed. So he is explaining what is Modan here from Ujjwal Mani. Radhika Yuta Evaso Modana Natu Sarvata Yaha Shriman Ladini Shakte Suvilasa Priyovara. Modana belongs to Radha's group. Radha Yuta Evaso Modana. And does not appear elsewhere. Na tu Sarvata. So it doesn't belong to the Chandravali group. It is most glorious, pleasing, charming manifestation of Ladini Shakti. Yaha Shriman Ladini Shakti Suvilasa Priyo Vara. Ujjwala Neelmani. Okay, this is where only Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma is discussed. So Bhavachate. No, there are at least 33, 26. No, there are many slides. And we have already, time is up. So I don't want to go more and take more time. So we will stop here. We will continue with our definition of Bhava Bhakti tomorrow. And this is only one definition which is a little difficult for us to understand. Rest of the topics are quite simple in Bhava Bhakti. And later on, Ratya Bhas, Pratibimban Chaya, that requires little understanding. So that also we will later on take up. So we will wind up here now for today. And tomorrow we will meet at 12 o'clock. Tomorrow I will take the test. Shri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Hare Krishna.